Hey, what is up, y'all? This is Fathery with Tex-Trek coming at you live for our YouTube discussion of the first Star Trek Picard trailer. And I am joined tonight by PJ and Starfleet Boy.
I can hear an echo.
Yeah, I hear it too.
I just got rid of
Okay. And that is how we introduced ourselves.
But I just want to ask each of you, whoever wants to go first, what was your reaction to seeing this trailer for the first time? Or do you want to talk about like when the trailer was like brought to your attention, and then like your experience watching it for the first time, and all the thoughts and feelings that came with that? Whoever wants to go first.
You go first, Starfleet Boy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It felt like I thought that the best thing I'd ever experienced in my life was the first time I had sex, but this teaser was actually the best thing I've experienced in my life so far. I was just like overwhelmed with emotion and feelings, and I almost like I felt like I almost fainted, much like the little death.
Nice.
Thank you.
La petite morte.
Let you where?
I thought it was, if I could sum it up with a movie quote, that'll do, pig. That'll do.
Who are you calling a pig?
No, like the show. It's like the people behind it. Like, okay.
Was that like
for one thing
for Michael Chabon or Alex Kurtzman or what?
All of them. That'll do. Because they could have certainly messed this up with the first teaser, but what they did was show the vineyard. The vineyard was like the key to appealing to the general fandom, especially because it was 25 years to the day that All Good Things aired.
Right. Yeah, that was May 23rd, 1994.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
Me and Dave are so on top of the ball at Tex-Trek that we did a podcast on that episode a couple weeks ago to commemorate its 25th anniversary and to speculate how it might inspire elements of what we were calling at the time #Picard show. We didn't know it was literally going to be called Picard, but apparently it is. So be sure to check that out if you haven't seen that and get some thoughts and some speculation from me and Dave. But yes,
I think everyone should pause. If you're not live with us, you should pause this and go watch it and then come back.
Does anybody remember? Does anybody remember when Sonequa Martin Green inadvertently leaked the name of the show?
Yep.
And then they were like, "No, that's not the name."
It was an interview with Larry King, wasn't it?
I think so. Yes.
No way.
Yeah.
Yes. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Do you think she was
actually talking to Larry King and she was like, "Yeah, the other show they're working on with Patrick Stewart, it's going to be great. It's called Picard."
Do you think she was like punished for her leak?
No.
I don't think they like fined her or something for like.
What happens?
Look at Tom Holland. Look at Tom Holland in the
the
Marvel Cinematic Universe and how much he's spoiled.
You guys are way in the know. I missed all that. I had no idea she leaked it.
But I still didn't believe it. I just assumed that she didn't know what she was talking about because I was like,
of course she knows.
The other rumored title was Star Trek Destiny, which would have, I guess, been based on David Mack's trilogy of novels, but they didn't go that route. But I still think that there may be a Borg.
Do you think?
Connection.
The authors of the show have the ability to pull from any of that stuff, right? Like they can just pretty much like pull from a wealth of licensed material.
Who was the person who started the show? Michelle Paradise? She was the
she's
brainchild?
No, she's the new showrunner for Discovery. It was Kirsten Byers.
Yes.
Who Alex Kurtzman called the brainchild of what is now known as Star Trek Picard. And she's also the one that they call the keeper of the canon in the writer's room.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised based on some of that stuff that we've already been told that this does look so appropriate for the Star Trek continuity, as opposed to what early Star Trek Discovery arguably all of Star Trek Discovery looked like. Also, Michael Chabon is a writer-producer on Star Trek Picard. And I remember recalling he stated at one time, as a lot of writers actually view the continuity as, crippling, and it kind of like backs you into a corner and you have to deal with all the stuff that's established lore and canon, and it can make writing really hard. Michael Chabon, on the other hand, in his own words, says that he looks at that stuff as an advantage because you have all these different established elements that you can pull from and tie things together and bring things back and use what is already there. Basically play with the toys that are already in the toy box.
You have 52, 53 years of an entire franchise you can take from. And when you're writing and creating within this realm, within this franchise, you need to honor, first and foremost, but you need to be inspired by everything that has come before. So this Picard show, I think, is heavily inspired by the events of 2009's Star Trek, which in the prime timeline, Romulus is destroyed. And they seem to be alluding to Picard leading a rescue operation of some sort. So what do you guys think about that? Do you think why after that event do you think he quit Starfleet?
Yeah, so the voice in the trailer says that 15 years ago he commanded the largest rescue armada in history, and then apparently abandoned Starfleet after that. So, the popular theory, and I have to admit it's the same thing I first thought watching this trailer. The rescue mission that he led was addressing the Hobus supernova from Star Trek 09 and the destruction of Romulus.
Yeah.
But I don't know, did something like go wrong after that made him turn in his badge and phaser basically and retire from Starfleet? I don't know.
PTSD or
I think that's where
I
think that's where like the realm of speculation comes in. Like I don't think there's information about that, and so that's probably going to be something the show will answer, hopefully.
Oh, it will.
But I think all the crew dies. Like they're all gonna die except Picard.
Damn you!
That's a very interesting theory.
That's so grim.
So
it is super grim. So I had a vision.
Terrible.
I had a vision when I was in the shower this morning of like
you're in the shower a lot, man.
I'm in a hot climate. You have to take showers. You have to take showers every day.
Yes, that's right.
So I had a vision, or I imagined just like what a rescue armada might look like, and like you just like start imagining this shit, right? Like, so I imagine this huge, like enormous fleet, and Picard's like control. It's like sectors wide, the fleet. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like it's not like a little tiny fleet. So when the sun supernovas, like part of that fleet could have been taken out, and I was like, holy shit! Like the Titan would be in the back of the line, the last one, like awesome. saving the
your imagination is too wild.
It's too wild. I know.
Tone it down.
Tone it down.
No, but I seriously imagine that like exact same thing where like it's not only the Enterprise, it's like the Titan, it's Ezri Dax's ship, and everybody just like coming to Romulus just in the nick of time to beam as many people as they possibly can off the surface.
As you would need something insane to evacuate planets or systems. You know what I mean?
They need to do flashbacks of that.
Yeah.
Even if it's only in like the 10th episode.
But anyways,
we finally see what happens. That needs to be the climax.
I had this like thought, like, they would be the last ships, and they would probably be the ones that would get affected. And Picard's probably commanding the fleet from like a fancy new ship. out in the front, and he's like,
okay.
and that's the tragic part. Is he left the seat. He left.
No, I no. No.
He was, and so it's heartbreaking because I know, but that's what I imagined in the shower, and so that's what all those emotions were based on.
That's what I imagined in the shower. I sing in the shower. I don't imagine anything but what
I'd not even thought about them actually showing whatever they're describing here. This what will be prologue to the show, essentially. I never even thought about what a cool opportunity that'd be to flash back to that. Where I have no shame in saying my favorite Star Trek show is Deep Space Nine, as anyone who knows me can tell you. The opening of Deep Space Nine, that is like one of the greatest openings of a Star Trek show. When you have the flashback to Wolf 359 and the destruction of the USS Saratoga. So
I just finished watching DS9 season 1, and I've enjoyed it more than I've ever had before. And I'm into the first 2 episodes of season 2, and I'm bored to tears. Really? I just need to get past that. Like, I think it's a 2-part.
It's a 3-part.
Yeah. It's a 3-parter.
3-parter. A search,
and
you should just come on Drunk Space Nine. You would have such a good time.
And Kira's down arranging rocks, and she's like, "The rocks aren't, like rice." I'm like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!" But anyway, let's go on.
We can also do Captain Mary Janeway if you want.
I need to go back to Voyager. I haven't been back to Voyager in a while. So anyway,
Drunk Space Nine.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would like to come on.
I'm promoting my show.
But I only drink Friday and Saturday nights. So yeah.
Oh, we can do that. Fathery was the best guest, one of the best, among the best guests we've ever had.
I was really, I was really, the appropriate term is fucked up, I think.
Oh, yeah. It was great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We have a comment in the chat from Larry Richter. Hi, Larry.
Hello.
Hello, Larry.
All his best visions come in the shower. Maybe that's also what happens to Alex Kurtzman and Michael Chabon and the other Picard writers. What if they have like writing staff meetings in like a big community shower?
Whoa, that would be terribly distracting. That's where all
like the your inspiration and good ideas come from. It might be worth looking into. Alex, you can have that idea from me. I know Alex Kurtzman checks out Tex-Trek, so.
It would be a really weird way to write a show, but I have to say, when you just wake up, you're still in that dream state, so it's the perfect time to have imaginations about Star Trek.
By the way, talking about writers, the chemistry between the DS9 writers in that recent documentary, was just like one of the best parts of it. Even though I didn't like totally buy into their quick idea for the first season or the first episode of a theoretical season 8 of DS9.
I bought into
that though because not everyone.
Oh no, I'm not gonna. No.
Can I raise a point about Michael Chabon, Fathery?
Go ahead, by all means.
Did you guys ever see Wonder Boys, the movie, or read the book Wonder Boys?
No, but I think you asked me that before when we did when we did the live stream for his short trek Calypso.
I probably did.
It sounds familiar, but
look at who's in the
who's in it. Is that the one where Robert Downey Jr. is like a psycho business guy and he screams and yells?
Oh, wait. Maybe it's been too long. I saw it when it came out in the theater. I just remember
he's like he's a real prick. But that's a lot of movies.
He's not a nice guy. But there's a twist though to his character and Tobey Maguire's character, and that's all I'll say, in case it gives spoilers. But the book is delightful. I read the book. The book is awesome.
I'll give away the ending. They're aliens, and Michael Douglas is the mother queen.
All right, how do I? There we go. I'm back.
well, let's talk about Michael Chabon a little bit because I am not familiar with his work at all. In fact, I don't recall ever hearing his name until they said that he was writing a short trek episode. And how would you describe his writing, and how do you think that might be something that influences the Picard show?
Oh,
Go
you've
ahead.
read his writing. Good. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, I only know that he didn't he write Calypso?
Yes, I think he was the writer.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can't really judge based on that alone. Go ahead, Starfleet.
I think if I were to compare Calypso to, I've only read Wonder Boys, the novel, and this was like, I think when I was in high school, so it was like many years ago. I'm 41 now, so
You're 41.
I'm 41.
God,
yes.
you look like you're 38.
Thanks, man. It's the Starfleet boy.
We're all in
it suggests I'm younger than I am.
We're all in our late 30s anyway, I think. I don't know about Father, but
I thought you guys were like
I'm 35.
21, 22.
I'm 33.
Wow. I'm 35.
No way. Now we've told the whole world our age. Audience, were you surprised?
We're also sexy.
What's that?
Anywho, I said we're also sexy looking.
Anyway, Chabon's writing is a lot like Calypso in that there's like a somewhat like mysterious tone to some of his it's definitely when I was reading Wonder Boys, you're unpacking a mystery, but it's not like crazy like these epic things like, you know, there's zombies or like the world is ruled by the Illuminati. It's just like little mysteries within the context of that environment or that story, and it's really delightful actually. So I think which I think Calypso kind of does. There's like still a ton of unanswered questions about like what's going on, but it's interesting enough. It like gives you enough like material to be like interested, and I think that's exactly the kind of thing we can expect from him.
So would you say Michael Chabon's writing does it typically lean more into like the sci-fi concept, or is it more of focusing in on like the human elements of the story?
I think that it focuses more on the human elements of the story, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he's like a huge Trekkie, and so I think he would translate.
Oh, he is.
Okay, yeah. So
is.
I think he would be able to translate whatever his stuff. If he has like watched extensive amounts of Star Trek, I think he would do a good job. I loved Calypso. I thought it was one of the best ones. So I think he'll. I mean, we can't tell anything from that, but I think he'll do a good job.
I don't know much about him, but I hear that he is a big Trekkie, and I'm sure he's like one of these guys who has like the deep nerd knowledge, and that if anybody, he's a better person to write for Picard. But also take into account directors like Hanel Culpepper and Jonathan Frakes, and the way in which they're filming this 10 episode season, 2 episodes at a time. So basically, like Hanel Culpepper has the pilot and the second episode. It's almost like a 2-hour. They all get their like little mini movie of Picard.
I like that. I actually kind of love that.
And now at this point, 3 and 4 are being filmed, and like, you know, we heard this like real, and I'll say it, like bullshit about delays. Oh, it's all falling apart. They don't know what they're doing. No, they're right on schedule. In fact, they might be ahead of schedule. And we're definitely getting this show this year. There's no like 2 months later we hear, oh, there's problems and it's going to come out in 2020, 2021. No, we're going to get it in December or November even. Like, you know.
I'll go further and just say, like, even if it's delayed, I don't really care. I'd rather they do a great job.
Oh, yeah.
And give us like a amazing product than like deliver on time. Although it would be amazing to get a Christmas present of that proportion. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't happen.
If I had to bet, I would say it's coming out before the end of the year.
And I think that I just, sorry to cut you off, but just one last thing before you continue. I think one of the main aspects of the show is that they were more prepared going into filming and production, full-on production, than they ever were with Discovery. And Discovery had problems like up the asshole going into it full-on for like a good year before they actually like knew or had any idea what they were doing. But this one, they're going into this with such confidence. I find that I don't believe there's any way that this is going to be in any way disappointing. It's going to be surprising and intriguing and thought-provoking and cerebral, as they say. So anyway, yeah. Sorry.
I don't think that the executives at CBS are capable of this kind of like, epic forethought, but if they are, I'm very impressed. But like, I don't envy the production crew of Discovery because Star Trek had been gone for a number of years, like something like 12 years.
Yeah.
So to bring Star Trek back, like, I think like there were definitely a lot of mistakes that things that I believe were mistakes that were made. But at the end of the day, like Discovery like is the little Star Trek that could, in a sense, because season 2 personally, on a personal level, it just blew me out of the water. And I feel like the reception that I've observed online is pretty much the same. And like we've had our chats on Starfleet Boy, and like I feel like even though you have like more grounded expectations than I do, you were still excited about season 2 of Star Trek Discovery, both of you. So I think it's cool. I think season 3 is going to knock it out of the park. I think it was a great move to take it into the future, but I don't envy any of those people because they had to bring Star Trek back and they chose, or they were forced to do it in these constraints of a prequel. Well, like I think none of the like, especially I don't know them personally, but from what I gather from their like interactions, like Ted Sullivan would have probably loved to have done a future Star Trek, but he was kind of like, oh well,
so he's more of a TOS guy.
Well,
Sullivan's a big TOS guy. But yeah,
regardless, I think they all did the best they could, like considering the circumstances. So like the writers of Picard definitely like, I'm sure the analytics showed like there's so much just upsetness. Like if you like do an NPS score on Star Trek, they would like rank like the NPS was probably like 5, right? And so they're like, there's so much upsetness, but look, everyone's talking about Picard. What's that?
People weren't that upset with Discovery. A lot of Star Trek fans were upset, but the general audiences really liked Discovery. It was reviewed.
I have the same. I feel the same like defenses, but at the same time, like I think the Star Trek audience is a huge audience. Like the fan, whatever the quote unquote fan audience is, like me, you, all of anyone who considers themselves a fan, like that's a huge amount of people. I mean, like there's conventions that are crowded. Like at Star Trek Las Vegas, like it's a lot of people, and like everything they do Star Trek related gets sold out. So at least I would like conservatively, I would say there's at least 900,000 Star Trek fans. That like that's a huge
I think there's
chunk of people.
More than that, but
no, I'm being like extra like cautious, really. But even if there was like 900,000 fans, like that would just give you their money if you did a better job at appealing to what they think Star Trek should be. It's going to be more successful.
Like CBS, for example, they look at the fans as the people you need to make merchandise for and make money on merchandise from them. But with the actual shows themselves, they always want to push those towards like a wider
audience.
And if they do try to make things specifically for fans, they do fear that the reception won't be high enough, and you will have failures on your hands. So
it's ironic because like I feel like the movies that have done the best for the powers that be are the ones that were like very deep into Star Trek, like
well, Star Trek 4 was the most profitable Star Trek movie, and it was the one that had the widest appeal to the most people and was the least Star Trekky of all the movies. But
I'm looking for the nuclear whistles.
I guess that's totally true, but it's still very satisfying, Star Trek 4 to a fan. Like if you've watched all of Star Trek, you're not going to go to Star Trek 4 and be like, oh yeah, that movie is just to ensnare new audiences. I think when they made the film, they had no idea it was going to be as successful as it was. Like they were generally just making it for like Trekkies.
But I do always kind of feel that like the fan base, and not just in Star Trek, but in other fandoms, they do kind of overestimate the importance of the fans to the studio, to the powers that be.
Right.
Where those people they're more worried about maintaining a profitable product So I think the creative forces, or your writers and producers and actors, they're the ones that are going to try to like throw bones to the fans, but little fan service here and there. But let's just get into like the specifics of this trailer and the vineyard.
Before we do that, I have one more question though.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You might know the answer to this. Like in just 2 days or 24 hours, the Picard trailer already has like 1 million views, and it was number 2 trending on YouTube. Is that a big deal?
That is a huge deal. Like,
okay,
I was saying for a while that this show is going to be a really big deal. When they confirmed the Picard show at Star Trek Las Vegas last year, it was trending extraordinarily well on Twitter. There was a lot of circulation in all of the like the Hollywood news sites and everything. It was one of the most widely reported stories for a week after that announcement. So yeah, there is a major anticipation beyond just the Trekkies for the return of Patrick Stewart as Jean-Luc Picard.
That's cool.
Yeah, so there's a lot of excitement for this, but I will say this, that this trailer, it is more appealing to fans of the show that actually remember the episode's family and all good things and are familiar with the Picard vineyard. So I think like opening really small like that was a great way for like the marketing of the show to get the fan base on board. And when you do have like that energized fandom, that's going to really carry the anticipation for the show. That's going to help spread it to the mainstream.
If I saw the trailer with no sound, I would want like whatever wine they were selling. It was beautiful. It was like so.
As a wine commercial to you is basically what you thought.
In the best way possible. I loved like. I'm not saying like that as a critique. I'm saying like it was like scrumptious like that. It was just like every second of it was something that my eyes were eating up with joy.
We have another comment from Larry. He says that they tried too hard to make Discovery mainstream. Like, yeah, I can definitely like understand that argument that Discovery did feel like it was more worried about being popular modern mainstream TV shows and not a traditional Star Trek show. I guess what a lot of the fans are probably hungry for. But yeah, the ideal approach would be to do something that is going to be really appealing to both people who do memorize countless volumes of trivia and also the people who are casual TV watchers who just happen to watch Star Trek occasionally, or maybe they're getting into Star Trek for the first time. I do kind of think that Picard is going to be the nostalgia show, though. Not like everything in there is going to be like a reference from an episode or something, but it'll be the one that kind of pays off the old school fan, and that's why they're opening on the vineyard like that. That's why they're bringing back a character and actor that is so beloved.
What's great about like for new fans, what's awesome is that like pretty much everything official Star Trek is online somewhere to stream, so like you can catch up pretty quickly and become like totally like up to date on at least the films and the TV shows. I think like within a year if you're like hardcore.
It would be a lot to do in a year, but I actually like you can watch all of Star Trek before Discovery. Not counting the animated series, but all the live action, if you do 2 episodes or a movie every day, it takes exactly 365 days.
So a year. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You can do it.
That's a big
but then there's
what do you guys think of the uniforms? That the leaked images of the uniforms.
Front footage. I dig these uniforms. They're not exactly what I would do, but I like it. It looks like a Starfleet uniform. It looks like something that would exist in this time period. I want to see the comm badge.
We've had visions of the future in Voyager. I don't know about DS9, but
Yeah, in the season 4 episode, the Visitor. I know where you're going. They have the All Good Thing uniforms, like in Voyager.
The high waist, like when you see Beverly Crusher on her ship, like I don't mean to offend anybody, but the waist is up to her breasts. Like it's just like way up there.
There's a reason for that, though.
Oh.
They cover their fat asses.
They intentionally designed those uniforms to be less flattering and help make the actors look older.
And that's interesting.
They kind of served the same purpose when they were reused in DS9 and when we see stuff, and then again in Voyager.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though, is like all 3 of those visions of the future, those were all alternate timelines that didn't actually happen. So I don't think they have any obligation to use those uniforms.
Yeah, the fact they don't.
Love those, though.
Yeah, they don't.
I like them. I do think they need to fix the waistline, just like lower that, and I think they would look really cool. I love like that future comm badge. We should pull up.
I'm gonna hold out my final opinion till I see it on screen because it might look different the way that the way that it's like comes out. But overall, I agree with you. I think they're gonna be pretty awesome.
Aaron Harvey did that beautiful graphic for trekmovie.com that shows off the what we can see of the uniform. So I'm gonna look for that. But
so where do you think Picard is at when he's around all these people, and they use an Anaheim, Florida location?
That's California. Anaheim, California. Cali.
They use some kind of center. What is it called?
It was the Anaheim Convention Center. That's where
exactly.
They have on.
So is that do you think that's Starfleet headquarters and he's like there to give a lecture or I don't know, like be a professor or something? He's Professor X all over again.
I don't know where I saw it, but I like the theory of that it might be I think it was Dan's video that he proposed that it might be like a speech to like talk about the Romulan Star anniversary, the 15th anniversary of that tragedy or whatever, much like we do about 9/11, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. I kind of like that, but I'd rather he was a teacher at Starfleet, but I don't know. That'd be cool. Oh, you found it.
Yeah, so here we have the graphic that Aaron Harvey made for trekmovie.com. And this is fan made. This is non-official, but he actually has a great eye for the Star Trek aesthetics and stuff like this. He did something very similar when we first got to look at the Discovery uniform. But yeah, so if you look at this, I did see like a lot of people bitching online asking, why did they go back to the DS9 Voyager uniforms? And this is clearly not that, although it is somewhat similar. But I mean, if you look at the collar, if you look at this little thing in the middle of the chest where the colored part dips down, the placement of the rank peps, it's clearly a different uniform for a different time period. I think it's very appropriate that they're not using the black and gray uniforms that we saw most recently in Nemesis. I think it has been 2 decades, so Starfleet would be in a very different uniform with their track record of changing uniforms often. But yeah, what do the two of y'all think about this design? Do you hate it? Love it? Is it okay?
It's fine. It's good.
I love it. I think it's cool. What I like is that I was kind of like wondering why the what's up with this whole like slicing the insignia. Like, was it like what's the choice there? Because it kind of like lines up with Discovery. No, but the first design, the larger design makes sense because it harkens to like the future badge design from TNG, and since that was an alternate timeline, one can imagine that something similar would arise from that design. Like something similar would arise in this timeline or whatever. So yeah. I like that first design the most, I think.
And we're not sure if this is what the comm badge will look like. No one's gotten a really good.
Yeah, it's speculation.
Yeah. The comm badge might be different from this. In the shots that we do have that leaked from the shooting location, it's hard to make out the comm badge, but it looks kind of similar to the one in All Good Things. I don't think it's going to be the exact com badge, but it is going to be kind of similar to it, I think, with maybe just the delta being the outline, and it's kind of hollow in the center, like the top of these three possibilities Aaron included here on this graphic.
They're going to have a lot less visual continuity complaints in Picard no matter what they do, just because of the fact that, like,
it's 20 years later, we can do whatever.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. Yeah, exactly. Like there will be some things that people like don't like, but overall you can't argue with it. Whereas with Discovery, like, everything was a legitimate argument because it does not look like TOS.
Yeah, that's the problem when you do prequels and do in between. Let's do in between Enterprise and TOS, and you do kind of force yourself,
set yourself up
to do something that's going to break continuity. So this is going to be a lot more popular in these circles where those things are really important. There are some people that are already saying that this is not going to be like the canon Picard, but the saying that make no sense. I don't want to really.
Those are the time travelers. They're the ones who like know that the way it's supposed to actually be. It's like Bran Stark. They're like seeing the future.
Everything.
J.J. Abrams is on an iron throne somewhere. twiddling his fingers like Mr. Burns, saying, "Excellent. They don't know that I'm secretly behind everything." It's creative. The changes that they're making, like especially with Discovery, I understand why people have this perception that the Kelvinverse people are secretly running the show, because Alex Kurtzman was part of those movies. That makes sense in a way. What actually is the case is that Secret Hideout is owned by Alex Kurtzman. J.J. Abrams has nothing to do with Secret Hideout. So when Alex Kurtzman comes in and you see like JJ-ish visuals and this and that and the other thing, it's not because J.J. Abrams is behind him, like pulling the strings. It's because he is continuing what he thinks is a successful formula visually for the Star Trek franchise. That's why in Discovery you have so much goddamn lens flare. Because 2009 Star Trek and Into Darkness were successful, not hugely profitable films, but they were pretty successful.
Yeah.
So his business mentality is to keep that visual style. The opportunity they have with the opportunity. There you go.
Sorry.
The opportunity you have with Picard is to show a more classical style of filmmaking that doesn't rely on Dutch angles and constant camera movement and constant lens flare. It can be more traditional. It can be more nostalgic to what we've seen. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I lost my train of thought.
On the look,
I agreed with everything you were saying.
Your lens flare was distracting me.
Sorry.
But before I add to that, I just want to acknowledge we have Rex Trek in the chat saying hi, guys. So hi, Rex Trek.
Hi.
And
hello.
Yeah, we kind of do get a feel of the look of Picard with this trailer, with like those few quick shots of the vineyard and then a close up of John Luke himself. And when I was watching this, I was really thinking it did look very very modern and high budget in a good way, and just the amount of detail you can see at everything was just like the resolution that television exists in now compared to the 80s and 90s. The anamorphic aspect ratio gives it that really cinematic vibe, and it was so cool to see a location we're familiar with the Picard vineyard, and the little details, like I don't know if anyone noticed those blue or green ribbons that that he had like tied some of the vines with. That's what
he's tying them in all good things.
Yeah, that's what him and Geordi were doing and in the beginning of All Good Things.
Oh, great!
Just like a super small visual detail.
I have to watch it.
Yeah,
Can we for 1 second go back to Starfleet Boys, or the theory that Starfleet Boy brought up about the Enterprise somehow being destroyed or something like that, like his crew being killed.
So that's your theory.
You could assume that Riker and Troy aren't there. So what you would have, like, Worf's dead, Geordi's dead, and who else? Worf, Geordi.
Well, Data's already dead.
Data's already dead. So Worf and Geordi would be the main ones. I swear to God, I don't ever want a Picard show that has the canon in which Worf is not there anymore. I don't want a Picard show that obeys the canon in which Riker or anybody else is not there. So, like, I want to see Captain Geordi, and I want to see Worf. I want to see Worf, or even if it's only a mention of him. Oh yeah, Worf, the captain of the Enterprise. I just want to hear it. I don't want these guys to be dead.
No, it would be great. It would be great though, from the perspective of, like, you know, how many seasons did they commit to? Was it 3 or something like that?
They haven't said how many they've committed to. What happened?
Well, even if we get 2 seasons, like, I mean, no one's ever really dead, right? Like, something could happen. Burnham could come with the time suit and change everything and fix the Romulan star blowing up.
No one's ever really gone. Skywalker said. No, that'd be terrible if they had, like, the whole Next Generation crew were killed and wiped out like that.
I don't think it'd be. I mean, it'd be terrible from the real aspect of, it's like a tragedy. Like,
it would be a moment that, like, why would you do that to yourself? and
it's just
disable Trek from being able to include that unless you do some, like, really hokey resurrection or, like, oh no, they weren't really dead, and just undercut whatever you were trying to do.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of ways you could go. Like, what if his advanced aromatic syndrome is what we're experiencing life through? Like, Picard is actually like he's like traversing dimensions, right? And so we go with him on this, like, crazy trippy journey. No, I don't know. I like, it's not like my theory. Like I said, like, I noticed that, like, a lot of people are worried about it or have come up with that notion, but I wouldn't be upset if they did that.
I would be upset, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think it's possible that we don't see those people in season 1. They might want to save that for down the road.
I'd be horrified in like an emotional way, but I'd be like, oh, it makes sense. Like,
can we all just for fun predict, each of us predict one cameo in the series? Let's start with you, Fathery.
Well, I have one that's, like, really basic, but it would be that, you know, Picard and his new group of people that he's going on this adventure with, you know, all these new actors that have been cast that they've already told us about. They're in a ship and, like, they're in trouble. They're in hot water. They're being shot at. They're getting hit with torpedoes. Shields are going down, and then all of a sudden, the Titan shows up under the command of Admiral Riker. And it's kind of like in All Good Things when he shows up on the refit Enterprise D and cuts through those Klingon ships, and maybe something like that. I think that'd be the easiest one to do, especially since Jonathan Frakes has already done work on the show behind the camera. So, but come up with something a bit more creative than that, because I feel like that's kind of basic.
I think that's actually awesome. I would like Q to appear as
you stole mine.
I'm sorry.
John Delancey as Q would be awesome.
The way I envision is that, like, Picard, whatever, because if I'm going by my, like, you know, running theory of, like, everyone dies, like, Picard's, like, cursing Q.
And then you
Q, why can't you just bring them back? Fuck you.
Damn you, Q.
You'd have to explain Q.
Make it show.
And then, so then Q appears and he's older and his powers diminish somehow, and that's why he can't bring them back. So it'd be like pretty interesting, like for him to like appear to Picard and kind of put that to rest.
I think that would be cool if they do find a way to have Q return in some fashion.
Right.
John Delancey as Q returning is like, if they haven't thought of that and said, what if Q came back? And then, the obvious question is, do they de-age John Delancey to make him look age appropriate? However, Q could simply come back as John Delancey in his 60s or 70s. I don't know how old he is, but like aged, and Picard could just make a comment like, "Why do you look so old?" And he's like, "This is how I choose. I'm in human form. I want, because he does age. If you look at 1987 to
2001.
2001.
Voyager again. Yeah.
You can look however he wants. I think another
Look at Data. He's aged, and they make an excuse in one episode for why he would look older than he should.
This is how I would write Q showing up if that was going to happen. Is I would have Q appear with like additional makeup on, where he looks like even older and ancient and decrepit, and he's making fun of Picard. And it's a callback to All Good Things when he did that to Picard. When he showed up with like the little horn and he's like, "What was that, Sonny? I didn't hear you," or whatever. Yeah. And then he's like he's gotten old, John Luke, and then he says something like here, I'll tone it back a little.
Oh, that's a great way of doing it too.
Like what actual like John Delancey looks like now, and then like you've addressed it, you've gotten that taken care of, and you can go forward with whatever you were going to do in that story.
I think it would also be heartbreaking if Q was for some reason like exiled from the continuum and forced to be mortal, but he's been holding on. But he's been holding on. What's that?
They already did that. Back in season 3
but like they finally but they finally just kick him out. They're like, "You've violated our laws like one too many times." And so then he's been holding on to some like crucial information, but normally he would just like snap to the future and tell you that information, but he has to go like the long way. So he's ages and he comes to visit Picard like in an episode, and Picard's like, "Q?" Like, he recognizes him instantly, but he's like, "Why are you old?" And he's like, "I'm mortal, Picard, but I've been searching you out to tell you," in his accent and that flair, like, "to tell you this thing, and you have to go here and you have to do that. That's all I can tell you. I know nothing else of the future." Like he's powerless to like help him except for this one little tidbit of information. I feel like that would be a cool thing.
That'd be kind of cool to see like the death of Q, where like he has to destroy himself or sacrifice himself or something to like help John Luke, and he's like John Luke, the scales are higher now than they've ever been. You're literally the only lower life form I would ever consider like doing this for. But you gotta pull this off. You gotta like save the day after this.
Yeah, whatever it is.
So
at some point, Picard has to say like, "Get the fuck off my these games! Stop these games, you son of a bitch!" It's like, you're getting on my goddamn nerves.
But
can I just mention the episode of DS9 where Q shows up, because it was in the first season that I just watched, where fucking Cisco punches him in the face.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And Q's like, "Picard would never have done that," which shows that Q has like an affection for Picard. And then Cisco's like, "I'm not Picard, bitch."
You hit me. Picard never hit me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm not
and he actually
Picard.
did say bitch. No,
damn you, Q.
Q
is a wonderful character. I love him so much.
He is, and I'd love to see him again. And I kind of always hoped that they would do it in the Next Generation movies. Back when they were making movies, I always kind of Q would come.
I thought that was going to be Insurrection when they announced the third. When they announced the third, when they talked about the second Next Generation film, I thought Q was going to be in there somehow. But when I found out it was about the Borg, I was like, that's excellent. But I always thought as a kid, that the third one was always going to be like a Q-centric, even though like I could never imagine how they would pull that off in a movie, because it's like, he's omnipotent. He's, what can you do with it's the same problem that they have with the character of Superman. Like when you have a character who's all powerful, like what do you do with it? So, but anyway, they never did that.
I have a question for you guys. In All Good Things, Worf is like estranged or upset at Picard because of Deanna's death, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Well, no, he's upset with Riker.
Oh, he's upset with Riker. Okay, sorry. But he's reluctant to help Picard too, right? Isn't he like kind of grumpy or something?
He's a grumpy asshole anyway.
The Klingons are not in the Klingons are kind of in diplomatic hostilities with the Federation at this point.
It'd be interesting if they turned that on its head in the new series, and like Worf actually did survive like the Armada thing, because maybe the Klingons didn't lend aid to the Romulans.
Armada thing that we don't know if it'll be in the show, that you're just
right, but like, but it happened. You know what I mean? So like a beef, it could be a beef that like Worf has with, or Picard has with Worf, because the Klingons didn't participate, and Worf like kind of, if he's ambassador at the end of,
it's safe to assume now that like let's just say this show takes place in 2402 or like 2400, whatever. It's safe to assume now that the Federation is completely at peace with the Romulans, the Klingons, the Dominion. Like, anything that we've already seen in which Starfleet was in conflict with would be completely resolved at this point. And perhaps, I think, the best course of action, maybe not the Borg, but the best course of action is to, if there is a existential threat within the Picard show that has never been seen before and requires the best minds and the best ex-Starfleet, like Janeway, Picard, this and that and the other thing, Kira, it has to be a completely new, a completely unheard of entity. And this is the perfect time in this show to do that. And I think if they do that, that the show will actually very gradually build up to it, so that like the first few episodes, you have Picard struggling whether to deal with this upcoming threat. He has PTSD. He has problems with the past, blah, blah, blah. And toward the end of the series, you get like a kind of climax with whatever threat he's going to deal with. But the kicker throughout the series may be the fact that you see in Picard's mind flashbacks to this Romulan shit that fucked him up so bad. And that's the thing that they talked about very early on, even last year, about how this is going to be very different. It's going to be different from, Discovery. It's going to be different from Next Generation. It's going to be this cerebral, thought-provoking, really like slow building kind of thing. And I think it's going to be really good, but I also think that kind of pacing may frustrate fans if that's truly what I think it's going to be. So,
I mean, I think the show is going to be hyper serialized, like more so than Discovery, with the way that they're shooting it, where they're only bringing in 5 directors. They're doing everything in 2 episode blocks. Hanelle Culpepper did the first 2. Jonathan Frakes is doing episodes 3 and 4 currently, and someone else will do 5 and 6, so on and so forth. That type of production, to me, indicates that these episodes will just like bleed into one another, and it will be like how they've described it, as a 10-hour-long movie. I'm okay with that, and I actually don't mind watching a show like that week to week. I know a lot of people are obsessed with instant gratification, and they want CBS All Access to just like drop all 10 of them at one time.
I would love that.
I would hate that, because it'd be impossible to cover all of them, and we wouldn't.
Yeah, that's from a YouTuber's perspective, though. But like, look at what Netflix has done.
I don't watch Netflix shows like that. I don't like doing that. I like to watch something like one episode each week, and it's not
overwhelming. I get that. Yeah.
But
but one of the advantages of week to week is the speculation.
Yes,
that fans have, and the build up.
Remember all the fun we had talking about the Red Angel and who is the Red Angel and all
and it never paid off.
And yeah, so if they had dropped all that at one time, we wouldn't have had that, and that was a big part of the fun of Discovery.
That's a good point.
Do you guys think that the episode involvement numbers are accurate on IMDb, like where it tells you how many episodes each actor is in?
No, that's almost always wrong, actually. So I don't even look at it.
Oh, okay. Because it's interesting what it says. Like,
I mean, it'll be accurate after the show is already out.
Right. Or at the end of the show, do you think?
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean. When someone correct all the things that they got wrong.
Well, what they're speculating then is that Santiago Cabrera and Patrick Stewart will be in all 10 episodes. Issa Briones will be in 8, as well as Alison Pill. Harry Treadaway, who I love, he's a great actor, is going to be in 7 episodes. And
I love Alison Pill. I'm so glad they added her to.
Let me see what she's done.
She's been in a few things.
I'm not familiar with.
Scott Pilgrim. I love Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Oh yeah, she was the redhead who played drums.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
I can't remember her name. I should know. I read the comics.
She was in Milk, Law and Order, Criminal Intent.
She was in that Jeff Daniels show.
The
Newsroom with Jeff Daniels.
Captain Picard. Dun dun.
Make a show, number one. Take off my pants.
What?
I didn't say nothing.
That went south real fast.
Well,
Evan Evagora, who I think is a Romulan, just because I don't know. I'm speculating.
He looks like a Romulan.
The casting,
not to be racist.
That's terrible.
We don't know if it was accurate, that casting description that came out. I think it very well could be true, because a lot of stuff gets leaked when you start sending information about your show, details about characters to casting agencies. A lot of stuff gets leaked that way. So, but yeah, there is a young Romulan character who is a bit of a martial artist that's described in there. And they cast this 19-year-old kid who has like boxing experience, so kind of makes sense that that'd be the guy that they're going with. But
it's 3 episodes.
Is it safe to say that this show has a heavy Romulan connection, and Romulan characters will probably be prevalent throughout?
Well, they've said that it will be dealing with the fallout of Star Trek 09 and the destruction of Romulus. So I kind of think that the character talking to Picard in the trailer is a Romulan.
I think the Romulans were the chief antagonist in TNG, and like my friend Humbert often will point out that nothing ever really happened. Now something could really happen. Like, I think that it makes sense for it to be a Romulan heavy thing, like much in the way that like Kirk had prejudices or biases. And some would say he was even racist towards Klingons. I think Picard has had biases and prejudices against Romulans, but then it starts to shift after the 2-parter with Spock, Unification, and he spends time on Romulus and gets to know the Romulan people. And I think there's like a shift at that point where like the Romulans are not the kind of the 2-dimensional villain, and they become like more intricate after that. And then you have Commander Dinatra, helping him out in Nemesis. Like, so
do you think she's going to make another appearance?
No, I would love
that. I love. She was in Starship. She was in Starship Troopers, and I love the actress. So
yeah, she's also in Birds of Prey.
Oh God, I love her so much.
Anywho, they could also bring back Denise Crosby as Sulla, but I don't even know.
Oh my God. They should. Yeah, we're way ahead of them on that.
I don't know if any of these characters we're talking about will show up. Like what we're talking about,
No.
like maybe
No, we're just getting excited at this point,
Riker will show up on the Titan. You know, I think it's very likely we'll go through this entire first season and not see them. It'll be kind of
because they all died. Because they're all dead.
I don't think we're gonna do that. That just doesn't make any sense from any perspective. But like,
what did Worf say to Troy when they first had sex? Prepare for ramming speed. Anyhow. Sorry about that.
I think you would have said got room for two.
But, oh my god! One in the poop and one in the chute.
Oh no! Oh my god!
Wow.
I have a question for you.
This went off rails so quick.
This is something that, like, speaking about Klingons, that is a valid question. What to do about their design? Like
cut off one penis, and then just like make them like Worf and fucking like TNG.
How does that work? Like, how does it work? Like, what would you
Discovery shit the bed when it comes to Klingons? I thought it was going to be like an alternate species or something, and that way I could accept the design. But the fact that they said no, these are those Klingons that we always knew and loved. I was like, no.
What would happen if you see Worf, or not even Worf, just Klingons, and they look like the Discovery Klingons? What happens?
Can we talk about a leaked picture where they show like a JJ-ish, what appears to be a JJ-ish Klingon? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't even think that's what that was. I think people are trying way too hard to connect dots, and you know, I think a lot of the aliens we see in Picard are probably going to be like new alien designs we've never seen before. I think
hopefully
most of the characters in the show are going to be characters we've never heard of before.
Nice.
If we do see a Klingon, I don't know. I'm sure they'll mention Klingons. For all I know, the writers are going to be kind of avoiding that because they don't want to tackle it. I think the best way to handle it would be just try to copy the Michael Westmore Klingon makeup from TNG and DS9 and Voyager and Enterprise, and you know, come as close to that as you can. It should be hard to recreate now, especially if you're going to bring back any of those Klingon characters like Worf or anyone else.
Any of them.
Glenn Hedrick of Star Trek Discovery fame talks about how the Klingons had to look different because HD, you know, like you can't have the same old like prosthetic makeup because the lines show.
Not true. You can
that's what I'm saying. If you watch the DS9 documentary on the big fucking screen and you see the Jem'Hadar and you see Odo and you see Quark, there is a little bit more noticeable like lines, separation lines in the makeup as opposed to like, you know, the actual human skin in which they paint over. But the stuff that they did in the 90s can definitely most certainly work for the modern age with just a few tweaks.
Yeah, I think it holds up very well. I mean, you can watch The Next Generation in HD now. You can watch the TNG era movies. You can watch Star Trek 3 and look at the Klingon makeup in Star Trek 3 from 1984.
Genesis!
It doesn't look bad.
Genesis allowed is not. Is planet forbidden.
By the way, that is one of the most best Star Trek makeups ever because of the lips. He has a double set of lips. Yeah. And when he speaks, it looks very cool.
He also looks like a lionfish.
DJ, did you turn your camera off whenever you talk?
That's because I'm doing some illegal activity right now.
Okay. Well, depending on what country you're in.
Oh, well, technically it's not. So okay.
Well, on the other hand, in the trailer and in the clip that we got from the CBS upfronts, really the only thing we know about this show is at some point Picard is going to be at home on the Vineyard, and I guess at Starfleet headquarters or wherever that was in the leaked stuff. So with only 10 episodes, I don't know how big of the scale of the story is going to be. I don't know if we're going to have like epic stakes of the fate of the galaxy, or if they might do something that's smaller and more personal.
the most logical route and the best thing they can do with this show. Hold on, I'm hearing my own voice. What's going on here?
You're good.
Okay, yeah,
I can see you now.
You just had Discovery, and in the first season of Discovery, you had the actual multiverse in disarray, and they had to save the multiverse because in the mirror universe, the use of the spore technology could destroy everything, all realities. And then you had this second season which dealt with just the galaxy or just the one universe. It's time now with the Picard show to do smaller stakes. I'm not talking about insurrection level where they're trying to save like a little village, but
maybe like Wrath of Khan level, where it's like, yeah, the psychopath is trying to kill us and steal the Genesis device. We got to stop him. It wasn't like, the fate of the galaxy is in our hands. The computer AI controls.
If I were to make a wild prediction about like the nemesis or the villain or the protagonist,
the big
or the antagonist of this series, it would be somebody who is trying to pull Romulus or Romulans in general into the old ways, and that since Picard has in the last 20 years, Romulus has actually like been a part of the Federation. I mean, we saw that in DS9 how like Romulus teamed up with the Klingons and the Federation to defeat the Dominion. That there was an extreme amount of progress in that area, wow. And that somebody is trying to totally undo that. I guess I don't know,
like a Tal Shiar operative, or I know Star Trek Online has kind of messed around with that. How they have the Romulans kind of split into two different factions, where you have like the peaceful Romulan Republic, and then like the Tal Shiar went and started like this hostile new version of the Romulan Empire. And so there are like two different groups vying over influence amongst the Romulan people. So I would definitely dig a television version of that, especially if it was a bit on like a smaller, more personal level, and something that Picard himself has to face off against. I think that
you go back and watch Unification or Reunification. Is it Unification? Parts 1 and 2.
Yeah, season
that might have some connection to this series. So
yeah, I really do get the impression they're building on a lot of the lore, like Michael Chabon said he would love to do. There is kind of a connect the dots kind of chain of events that you can see going from Unification and the story of Spock trying to make peace with the Romulans, then what we saw in DS9, what we saw in Star Trek Nemesis, what we hear about in Star Trek 09. So I kind of love when Star Trek does this, when it's obviously an arc no one had planned out, but when stuff does come into alignment like that, and you have writers who figure that out and know how to carry the plot forward to the next progression.
Definitely, that'd be awesome.
But I think there's a lot to be excited for. Just the, I guess, the really cool thing about Star Trek, regardless of how you feel about Discovery or some of these other proposed shows, it's very awesome to have multiple shows on the air again, like we're about to have, because you can get various different flavors of Star Trek. If you don't like one, if the Section 31 show isn't for you, maybe you'll like Star Trek Lower Decks, or maybe you only like Picard and the Nickelodeon Trek that they're going to come out with, whatever. But when they are doing all these different things, it's just a much more variety of stories and different types of stories. And that's another thing I love about the Star Trek franchise. It is so capable that you can do campy, goofy comedy stuff like Star Trek 4, or you can do a very serious science fiction story with temporal anomalies and something like Cause and Effect, or you can do a big epic action adventure thing like some of the
Best of Both Worlds.
Best of Both Worlds, or like some of the battles and DS9. Even Discovery did like really cool like hand-to-hand combat and stuff. And Star Trek has a lot of flexibility. It's a franchise that needs to have multiple shows on the air at the same time. So it's very exciting. I'm so glad that we're getting into this next show. So I just kind of want to wrap things up by asking, what's the main thing that after seeing this trailer that you're hoping you'll get in Star Trek Picard that we haven't really gotten in Star Trek in a while? What are you hoping that like Picard will bring to the franchise that we've kind of been missing or that we kind of been needing?
You go first, Starfleet boy.
I think closure to the Star Trek The Next Generation story. I think like when I think about TOS, like I think about how Star Trek 6 just kind of put a nice little bow around it, and you got to get closure. So I mean, I would love it if we got more TNG films, but if this is it, I would gladly trade one film for a 10-hour miniseries or more, like to get that to continue the story forever and then close it out, the way they did in Star Trek 6. Give everyone a nice send-off.
Yeah. I don't think Star Trek Nemesis was as good of an ending for those characters as they deserved.
Because I don't think they intended it to end at that point. That's the thing.
and Star Trek 6 is a brilliant ending to the TOS characters, and it was a great way to send off that crew. It was so great, in fact, that Avengers and Marvel Studios copied what they did at the end of Star Trek 6 for their big finale movie that just came out. And they stole the name of the movie from Voyager. They stole the plot from All Good Things. Whatever. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think that's a really cool thing that we might get from the Picard show would be closure with those characters. What about you, PJ? What are you hoping we can get from Picard?
I don't know about closure for the characters in TNG, but I think in any case, good or bad, we're going to get a continuation of the character of Picard. And we may not like it. We may love it. But like I said earlier, I think it's going to be a slow build. I think the first few episodes or the first even half of this season of Picard aren't going to be like definitive. Like if you're unsure of whether or not this is good or not, you're not going to get it early on. It's going to be strange. One of my early predictions about this show is that it's going to be strange and funny. That there's going to be a quirky nature. I'm not talking about Blunt Talk. If you've ever seen, if you've ever seen Blunt Talk with Patrick Stewart, then you know that he is actually capable of comedic genius.
Yeah,
and if there's even some element of that in this show, then I'll be satisfied. Can I just bring up a part of Blunt Talk that I literally was on the ground, even thinking about it, on the ground laughing. I think it's the first episode where he's in the airport washroom and he's trying to dry his hands. No, he's trying to wash his hands.
Yes.
And every time
there's
he goes,
toilet paper.
The water doesn't go.
Oh, that's right.
And then he goes to another one, and then it doesn't work, but the other one works. And then he tries to get some soap, but that one doesn't work, but the other one works. And he's like, fuck. And he starts freaking out.
I saw the first episode of Blunt Talk, but I don't remember seeing that.
Oh my God.
The first episode was the only one I saw because they made it free to watch online. And then I didn't have Stars or whatever it was on, so I never saw the rest of it. But I liked what I did see.
I'm unable to share it because of whatever that protection stuff is, but I actually bought it on iTunes. Like there's only 2 seasons, so I just when I need a good laugh, which I'll do now probably after this recording, is I'll go watch a random episode of Blunt Talk. They're so good.
It's sad that it only lasted 2 seasons, but at least it left him open for Picard.
Well, I don't know if we'll get that degree of comedy, but it certainly would.
I think it's going to be. I honestly think it's going to be. the Picard series is going to leave some room for like comedy and quirkiness, but then like I said earlier, it's going to be a slow build, and it's going to build into this like serious like thing. But that's just speculation. I have no idea, but it's going to be something special. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, there's so much anticipation with the trailer trending at number 2 on YouTube. They have such a good opportunity here to really push Star Trek into the mainstream and the popularity, like the general audiences, and do something very special. It's also very convenient that the biggest show of the last decade just ended, and seemed to have disappointed a lot of people. Might have lowered expectations from everyone.
I liked it.
Yeah, I didn't have as many problems with it as a lot of people, but we can have that discussion another time. Going back to Picard, though, I just want to give my closing statement, kind of building off what you just said. And what I'm really hoping to see with the Picard show is just simply more Picard. The fact that we're going to see Patrick Stewart, arguably the best actor who's worked in Star Trek, playing arguably the most iconic character in Star Trek. I think the only competition for Patrick Stewart / Captain Picard would be Leonard Nimoy / Spock, who Leonard Nimoy is sadly no longer with us. So this is, in my opinion, the biggest thing they can do with Star Trek. I said it a while back. I said the biggest thing Alex Kurtzman could do now that he has control of the franchise would be to bring back Jean-Luc Picard.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. And so I'm like, okay, Alex Kurtzman, I'm glad that you're listening to me. So I want you to continue.
By the way, you said that on my humble little small tiny little channel over a year ago, well over a year ago.
I should have said it on my channel.
Yeah, you would have got more views.
Well, not many more, but I do repeat myself a lot.
You got to be consistent.
But, speaking of that, Alex Kurtzman, I want you to continue to listen to me, and I want you to make sure that we have a Jean-Luc Picard that can let Patrick Stewart do what he can do best. Let him chew the scenery. Give him those speechifying monologues. Give him those moral quandaries where you have to see a character really grapple with the ethics of a situation, and then find the right thing to do, and then sell it to the audience, and sell that Starfleet principle, and give us a hero who embodies that righteousness of doing the right thing. And a lot of us kind of need something optimistic and bright like that now. So I want to see this character go through hardship, go through dark stuff, and then come out the shining example of the Star Trek hero, the Roddenberry ideal human that we all love, and have it presented to us in through the brilliance of an actor like Patrick Stewart.
Amen. But that little teaser that CBS put out for the advertisers or whatever, where the officer is asking what's your name, and Picard kind of does this grumpy face, right? What if the rest of that scene is he grabs his pad and he throws it on the ground? He's like, "You don't know who I fucking am."
I'm a war hero, motherfucker.
We'll find out hopefully in November or December.
How dare you?
That was actually very beautiful. I just I know we have to end, but I would just say that to me, since Leonard Nimoy is gone,
fuck you,
William Shatner would be the ultimate thing they could do. Bring back Captain Kirk.
It'll never happen. It'll never happen. Keep dreaming.
Bring him back again.
That boat has sailed. There was a time. There was a time when Shatner was the biggest icon, but that hasn't been true for 20 or 30 years now.
I won't argue with you on that.
I'm a rock it man.
So thank both of you for joining me. Thank you, everyone in the chat, Larry and Rex Trek. And do the two of you just want to let everyone out there know where they can find you or keep up with you?
I'll go first.
Yay.
I can't stop laughing. You can find me at PJ's Channel 1 on Twitter. You can find me at Trek. That's Boat R-E-K. I mean R-E-K.
I like REK.
Yeah. You can find me at you can find me on the internet somewhere. Go ahead, Starfleet boy.
It's like where's Waldo, except where's PJ?
Yeah, where am I on the
Spoiler
internet?
alert, he's in Newfoundland.
I'm in Newfoundland, boys. What are you at? I'm from Newfoundland.
I wish you could do the faces. That's the best thing in the world. Anyways, like your face changed.
Oh, when I did Christopher Walken?
Yes, like all of those are so good.
Hickory dickory dock. The mouse went up the clock.
Enough
anyway, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
What about you?
We're all giggly.
You can find me two places: Starfleet Boy on Twitter and YouTube, and on the podcast, and also Drunk Space 9. Those are the two things that I do. So check those out.
Yeah, and I'd love to be back on Drunk Space 9 sometime. So that was a lot of fun, and everyone should definitely listen to that podcast if you want to hear drunk fathery.
It's great. It's the best.
And as for myself, you can of course see all of our content here on the Tex-Trek channel. Visit www.tex-trek.com. Check out our Facebook page. You can follow me on Twitter at TXTrek. And be sure to check out our podcast. We're having new podcast episodes every Sunday. We're currently talking about the Star Trek movies. We've talked about Star Treks 1 and 2 and Star Trek 3. Discussion is coming out in the podcast this coming Sunday. We're going to go through all 13 movies. We're going to continue to have updates on Picard, on Discovery Season 3, on Lower Decks, on the Section 31 show they've talked about. So keep up with us to stay in the loop on all things Star Trek. And until next time, as always, live long and prosper, y'all.